to the ESPYs yet. When we get podcasts in the year.
Your phone's off.
Hey guys, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's December 11th, 2021, 2 weeks from Christmas today.
See.
And welcome back. And this is our second show. Steve?
Welcome back, everybody. Looking forward to another great show.
And I got to say, at first I was, last week was our first live broadcast. And I don't know if I could say I was nervous or excited, but I felt very comfortable, and we got a lot of great feedback from our audience, and it was great.
Yeah.
I just loved it, and this is our second week of live broadcast.
I concur. I think I was more excited. This is something we've been striving to do. And again, our producer Rob, we can't thank him enough for getting us up and rolling.
Yeah, and let's first of all make sure people know that this will be broadcast on blackjacktv.net.
Correct.
And on Facebook. Steve, you explain the Facebook thing to me because I don't know much about it.
I have a Facebook page. Go to Stephen, Stephen Monahan.
Or Bobby Blackjack on Facebook.
Or Bobby Blackjack on Facebook. The show will be posted, so you can view it there.
Yep.
It's also going to be uploaded to YouTube, and the audio will be SoundCloud for our loyal listeners.
Yeah, it'll still be on SoundCloud and YouTube, like we said.
Correct.
But let's jump into it. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, and normally, we kick off our show with the monologue, and I'm going to turn it over to my partner, Steve.
Well, thank you. So, for our new audience members, I'm a voracious reader. I love sports. I love reading during the week, anything I can find. So, what I stumbled across this week, what caught my eye was the best high school quarterbacks out of the state of Texas, and who is considered the best quarterback ever in high school in Texas. And you're probably going to be surprised when I give you the answer. So there's a quote from Barry Switzer. I recruited out of the state of Texas for the last 60 years. I've seen them all, but what he's accomplished is staggering.
Troy Aikman.
No, he's talking about Kyler Murray. And Kyler Murray played at Allen High School in Texas, which is the largest classification, the toughest division of high school football. And all he did was go 42-0 as a starter and brought in 3 state championships.
Impressive.
So Kyler Murray played from 2012 to 2014. And here are his stats. Kyler Murray, 10,386 yards passing, 4,713 in a season, 117 TDs. And guess what? His career totals are 19th, 15th, and 15th all time. I'm going to throw out some other names here. Matt Stafford is considered up there. So there was a poll by college coaches, high school coaches in Texas. So some of the names are Matt Stafford, Chase Daniel, right? Ex-Missouri quarterback, perennial backup. It was actually Matt Stafford's backup in Detroit. Mm-hmm. Drew Brees is right up there. Vince Young and Pat Mahomes, Ty Detmer. So these are all great names. There's one other name, the grandson of Jerry Jones. John Stephen Jones won 2 state titles recently. Okay? So I just wanted to bring that up, that 44 quarterbacks from the state of Texas have started in the NFL since 1993. And there's one other legendary name I want to bring up, or 2 actually, Sammy Baugh and Y.A. Tittle.
Slinging Sammy.
Mm-hmm. So I found that to be quite interesting, and I like to share things like that with our audience, and that's my monologue.
Well, that's awesome because, Steve and I, we're very big on high school football, and we follow young talent and so forth. And, we've seen kids from our area go on to play quarterback at Notre Dame, right? Matt Lavecchio was
Correct.
there from Bergen Catholic.
Yep.
And Steve Angeli from Bergen Catholic is actually going to Notre Dame, so we love it. Those are some good names.
Cooper Rigo, running back from St. Joe's, started out at Notre Dame. Howard Cross Jr. from St. Joe's is actually a starter on the Notre Dame defense. I think at nose tackle.
Yep.
So it's quite a factory that we're here. We mentioned Luke Whippler, our dear friend's son, starting center at Ohio State. So we do. We love high school football.
And let's give kudos to Bergen Catholic, who's been just an absolute dominant high school football team in
Yeah.
Bergen County. We're St. Joe's guys by all accounts for sure, but you can't deny they were the number one team in New Jersey this year.
Yeah, no denying. We covered it last week. Congratulations, Bergen Catholic.
Yep. So listen, before we move on to our segment, I just want to thank Steve for our set, our little background today. And when we talk about sports, these guys' names, if they don't come up in that discussion, then you don't know sports.
So obviously, these three jerseys symbolize to me my sports idols.
Yep.
Roger Staubach, Thurman Munson, Mark Messier.
Yep.
Right?
Great.
So,
I love it. And we got a little Santa Claus thing in the background going. So, Merry Christmas to
Merry
everybody.
Christmas. Merry Christmas.
So listen, let's move on. And first, before we move on, our first segment is sponsored by Coriano Trucking of Summerhill, New York, who, like I said, they've been with us day one. And, now they're part of our family with Rob and Blackjack TV. And we couldn't thank them enough.
Absolutely. Thank you, Guy Coriano.
So let's start with the National Football League, Steve. There was a great game the other night. It was the Patriots and Bills. And I've been to Bills games before, and I know the weather was horrendous. I was all on the Bills going, and I didn't see it coming. So the Patriots took it to them. What'd you think of that game?
Well, I was all in on the Bills. I was actually surprised at the result.
Me too.
However, the weather did turn in the afternoon. I don't think anybody kind of anticipated the windstorm that took place. Mac Jones, 3 passes. New England rushed it 42 times. That's
Damian Harris.
That's Bill Belichick. And also, you got to give Josh McDaniels credit, the offensive coordinator, for that game plan. Josh Allen, right? Threw it, I think, 17 times, something like that.
And we expect more from the Buffalo Bills, to be quite honest with you. We got a lot of fans, Mike Burns and Rusty Smith from Syracuse. They're big Bills fans.
Right.
And they got a lot of things to work out before they're going to go back to the Super Bowl.
You better believe it. So it was the first time I've seen a punter whiff in recent memory.
Since Sean Landeta,
Yeah,
right?
literally, since the 85 NFC Championship game at Soldier Field.
Mm-hmm.
The Bills have they're playing Tampa in Tampa tomorrow. So they conceivably can go to 7-6. But the Patriots, I thought were going to lose, but you got to give them credit. Defensively, New England is playing solid.
Yep.
Belichick has taken over the defense. And are the results surprising? I don't think so.
Yep.
So New England is sitting pretty right now, and
They are.
I think we all thought Buffalo would run away with the division.
Everybody.
So again, I'm tipping my hat to New England.
Yep.
And of course, people are now talking about the possible scenario: what if Belichick and Brady meet in the Super Bowl? That would be
a good Cinderella story, right?
It would be
Walt Disney, Spielberg can make
it. It would be unbelievable if that happens.
But listen, that was, like I said, a surprise. But there's a lot of big games coming up this weekend. First of all, I want to mention this Daniel Jones. This could be a possibly career-threatening neck injury he has. I expected him out for 1 game, but now he's out for 2 games and possibly the season.
Well, you're talking the neck, so you have to kid glove it.
Yep.
The Giants, I can't tell you how disappointed I am in them. Offensively, they look like they just don't care, right? The blame can go to Jason Garrett, but now Freddie Kitchens takes over. But there's no sense of urgency on the Giants, you
I know.
So if they give up a sack, the linemen, it seems like they don't care, right? There's no sense of urgency on the offensive side of the ball. And I'm telling you, Gettleman's in trouble. I mentioned it last week. Potentially Marek may break this down again. I actually think they should.
But again,
if they do, Joe Judge is probably looking for a new
right. But that's the whole thing about Judge. Like the past couple of seasons, we had 2 years of McAdoo, we had 2 years of Shermer, and now we're going to have 2 years of Judge. And listen, with all due respect, he's got to go. I think he's way over his head. And let's go across the other side of the stadium.
Wait. Let's just finish on the Giants. There is talk out there. I don't think this is the scenario is possible. The Russell Wilson talk. Okay, so the Giants got some draft picks.
Not possible.
I don't think it's possible.
You don't mortgage your future at quarterback for Russell Wilson now.
Right. You got to give him a 3-year extension, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
I just don't see this happening.
Neither
So
do
I want to temper
Yep.
that rumor.
Okay.
But the Giants, I really think they need to tear it down and start all over again.
And listen, I brought up Joe Judge being over his head. I like Robert Saleh, but he's in over his head. He's a defensive guy, and the defense is absolutely horrible.
Right. Well,
I mean, the offense, we expected it, right? We got a young Zach Wilson who's got to earn his stripes, that kind of stuff.
I don't think we expected Zach Wilson to be how he looks right now.
I know, but as a rookie quarterback, you get a free pass. No question about that. But they're horrible too. I mean,
defensively, the Jets are historically horrible.
Yeah.
And there's no end in sight here. So I would think the Jets are going to go defensive in the draft. You can bet the farm Jeff Ulbrich will be gone as defensive coordinator.
Yes.
Saleh will come back. He has to.
He'll get a second year.
But if you look at the Jets coaching staff, they're awfully young. There really is, they had Matt Cavanaugh, but, unfortunately, Greg Knapp, passed away in a bike accident prior to training camp. And I think that was a real devastating thing for the development.
Because that was part of the reason of drafting Zach Wilson.
Correct.
Because Knapp would tutor him and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
But the Jets are, defensively, they are god awful.
But there's a lot of good games this weekend. I think the marquee game is the Bills and the Bucks.
Oh, no question.
That's a great game. But
Cowboys, Washington. Mike McCarthy put his foot in his mouth, basically guaranteeing a victory. So now we got to go in and back it up.
All right.
I think the Cowboys, we're starting to get healthy again. Randy Gregory will be back. Lawrence is back at defensive end. You got Cooper and Lamb are back. Dak has been a little bit quiet over the last several weeks. But I think the Cowboys take care of business.
These, that moves us into our picks of the week, and that's one of my picks. I think Dallas, I like them over Washington this week.
Right.
I like this kid, Tyler Haneke, but you know what? I just don't know that they're ready with Chase Young going down, and they lost another with the tight end they lost.
Yeah.
So the football team is struggling. I like Dallas to bounce back. I mean, I expect a lot of things out of the Cowboys, and they just seem to disappoint week after week, but I'm going with them. Yeah. And the other game is the Giants are out in the Los Angeles against the Chargers, and without Daniel Jones, I don't think they stand a chance. I don't think they were going to beat them anyway, but that's my other game. I'm taking the Chargers and the Cowboys.
And our brother Tom is actually out in California attending the game, so there's no Daniel Jones. But, I love the Chargers here. It should be a beatdown.
Yeah.
Bears, Packers. I think the Packers have won something like 27 of the last 30 games against the Bears.
The Rodgers Packers are looking pretty good.
But you could kiss Matt Nagy goodbye after the year.
He might not even last the season.
No, I think they'll finish the year with him. There's no upside to firing him now.
Agreed.
But I don't see Nagy coming back.
Okay. So the NFL is underway, right? We're in the second half of the season, and we're coming down the stretch.
Back on the NFL real quick. The Pittsburgh game 2 nights ago. Oh, I've never seen the Pittsburgh Steelers get their asses kicked, mainly on the offensive and defensive line.
They were down 29 to nothing.
I've never seen a beatdown from a Pittsburgh Steelers team.
And I was taking the Pittsburgh Steelers in that game.
I did too.
And the Vikings, like I said, you said if Zimmer and the Vikings lost, he would have probably been, on the way out.
Yep, I wouldn't have been surprised if Zimmer lost his shot.
But they held on, and it was a good game. But you're right, 29-0.
And as bad as Pittsburgh is, I think they're like 6-6 or something.
Yeah, something 6-6-1.
6-6-1, right? And a lot of teams that really stink, like the Giants and the Jets, they get 2 wins, 3 wins. Mike Tomlin is a damn good coach. And as bad as things are, they got 6 wins.
Well, they don't
but Tomlin was so pissed after this game, man. It was great.
Yeah.
So, like a reporter asked him, are you going to make any changes on the coaching staff? And Tomlin looked at me and goes, "Last time I checked, my coaches didn't make a tackle, make a block, score a touchdown."
That's your question, guys.
Go ahead, Rob.
What do you think of who's quarterback in the Steelers next year?
Well, they're going to have to
If
go.
you're gonna guess right now, based on conjecture what's out there, who do you think?
I'm going to say Aaron Rodgers. That's my guess.
That's my guess.
He's out of Green Bay for sure, and it's a perfect fit for him.
And one more quarterback I can see for both the Giants and the Steelers. Kirk Cousins will be a free agent next year.
Yeah, actually, Cousins is a free agent. He was actually going to be my guess. I think Pittsburgh, as good as Aaron Rodgers is not going to pay Aaron Rodgers, and it's going to be $45 million. He's going to be the highest paid quarterback. But
Goff makes $30 million.
Yeah, and listen, Cousins is making, I think, $40 million.
Yeah, he's top 5.
But I'll lean with Kirk Cousins. I think Aaron Rodgers wants to go west, but I just don't know where yet. I can see Denver for Aaron Rodgers, but make no mistake, Aaron Rodgers is leaving Green Bay.
Yeah. Sure. So listen, let's stick with the pigskin and go to college football. A lot's been going on with the coaching carousel, as we talked about last week with the Brian Kelly. Brent Venables takes the Oklahoma job.
Great hire for Oklahoma.
Yeah, and so we got the Final Four now. We got Michigan, we got Cincinnati, right? We got Auburn, and
Alabama,
Georgia, and Alabama,
right?
And what are your thoughts on that? Did they get it right?
I'm gonna eat crow. I said on the show last week, and again, when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't hide under the bed. I didn't think Alabama could beat Georgia, and again, it was just going into that game. But Bryce Young won the Heisman Trophy last Saturday.
Yes, he did.
Hands down.
He gets the trophy.
He's going to get that trophy tonight.
Yep.
And after the show last week, we actually, what was there, about 5 minutes left in Oklahoma State Baylor, and we got to watch the end of that. That was a great game. Now, if Oklahoma State pulled out that win, Cincinnati's was not making the 4.
You're right.
But I'm happy that Cincinnati's in there. It's a feel-good story. I can't see Cincinnati beating Alabama, especially with the momentum they have,
and I can't see Michigan beating Georgia either.
I can't either. But Michigan has more of a puncher's chance to do that. But I see a rematch, Alabama, Georgia, and I'll wait until we get closer to game time to make my pick on that.
But so much going on in college football. Like I said, this coming on, but today, the Army-Navy game, which is
one of our favorites.
It's one of the only. I think it's the only FBS game being played today.
It is. The 1AA, former 1AA playoffs are today. North Dakota State, who's been in it probably the last 10 years, it seems like. Carson Wentz and all that.
Mount Union got to be in
Sam Houston State, things like that. Well, that's Division III. The
Division III, yeah.
Right, and the Wisconsin Whitewaters and all that stuff. So,
yep, they're there.
Yeah, but Army Navy, I got to go with Army today.
Quick story, guys. Sam Houston State won last year, and the quarterback from Elmwood Park, Michael Dare, was back in play.
That's right.
That's right. Good information.
Michael Dare got recruited by Rutgers, if I remember correctly. He probably had a cup of coffee, saw the writing on the wall, and decided to transfer out.
But listen,
it's a good move for him.
It is.
Great move for him.
Yep.
The kid's like 6'5" or something. Right. So good luck to him. Yeah.
But with college football, it's been such a crazy year, and you had 2 defensive players. One was actually up for the Heisman, was Aiden Hutchinson.
Correct. Well
and this kid, Will Anderson from Alabama. I mean, rarely, there's always one standout defensive guy, but this year there's 2.
Yeah.
And these guys are going to be NFL players next year, for sure.
And it's a bold statement, but if you look at what Will Anderson did this year and the linebackers that have come out of Alabama, he's right up there as the best of the best.
Yeah,
from the Donta Hightowers to
the Cornelius Bennett.
There's
a lot of history at Alabama.
Derek Thomas.
Yes, no question.
Even as troubled as a life as Keith McCants had. Keith McCants was a beast.
At Alabama, he was a stud.
He was on that '92 championship team. Gene Stallings.
But listen, with college football, a couple other quick notes. This kid, Mac Johnson, transferring from LSU.
Yeah.
So, listen, in college football now, you could just put your papers in and transfer and play for another team in 3 weeks. The rules have been so, changed since you got sitting out a year, and that's unheard of.
They won't be lacking for quarterbacks at LSU.
And how about this? The new head coach of Grambling State, Hugh Jackson. Look at his resume. It's not all that impressive, but, he's taken over that job.
It's a good hire. He's back. He's back. Grambling. I think it's a good fit.
We'll see. But listen, Army Navy.
Mario Cristobal to Miami. We
Oh,
talked about last week.
Yeah, but I'm glad you brought that up because Steve and I have been talking about this for a month. And we saw the writing on the wall for Manny Diaz. And I know that a lot of other people did. And, they kind of dangled him along. But soon as Cristobal became available, they scooped him up. And I got to pat us on the back for that.
Yeah.
We were all over this a month ago.
It makes sense. Again,
And it does
Cristobal,
make sense.
The next Kane. But Manny Diaz landed quickly. He's now the defensive coordinator at Penn State. Was hired today. So good for him.
Yep.
That's a good hire for Penn State.
Yep. But listen, before we close out, it's the Army-Navy game, and Army's won 4 out of the last 5. They've been kind of dominating. And you got to say, when you're talking about the Army-Navy game, as exciting as it is, it's the most boring football you're going to watch all year. Because all they do is hand the ball off, and
it's the pomp and circumstance.
It is the
all.
pomp and circumstance, and they're playing it in New Jersey today, which
right down the road, 20 minutes from where we're broadcasting.
Yeah,
we caught a glimpse on the TV of all the cadets and everything. And again, West Point is 45 minutes up the highway.
One of my favorite places in the U.S.
Jim and I, we worship West Point. Anybody who has a chance to go there, it's highly recommended.
Yep.
But I'm happy Army and Monken, the head coach there, have turned this around. This Navy kicked the crap out of them for probably a good 15 years. Right?
Yeah, it was. It's a back and forth with these guys, but Army's had the upper hand.
Right.
So
I
rainy day.
I typically root for number 12's alma mater, Navy, when it comes to Army.
Right. But that's the big game today. So enjoy that, folks.
Absolutely.
And let's move on to Major League Baseball. Couple of things real quick. Gil Hodges finally gets into the Hall of Fame. And Steve and I have been talking about this what is taking so long? I looked at his numbers. He drove in 100 runs for the Brooklyn Dodgers 7 times.
This, to me, is probably the most perplexing weight of a bona fide Hall of Famer.
Exactly.
I can't say anything else.
Not only on the field, but in the dugout too. I mean,
that's gravy on top.
What took so long?
But when you have a Phil Rizzuto, get in 20 years ago or however long it's been over at Gil Hodges, that's a head scratcher to me.
It is.
And the great part about this is Gil Hodges' widow is still alive. I think she's about 95. And I think that's, to me, that's great that she knows that her husband has been elected to the Hall of Fame, and when they reunite upstairs at some point.
Absolutely.
I love that. So Gil Hodges is so well deserving of this.
Yep, and Buck O'Neill got in from the Negro Leagues and so forth, and
well deserving.
But you know what?
Tony Oliva, Kitty Cott.
Right, but here's what's the most perplexing of it all. Dick Allen does not get in.
One vote.
If somebody can explain that to me, as good as Tony Oliva was, Dick Allen was just as good and belongs in the Hall of Fame.
So
that's perplexing.
It is. But Jim Cott is one of my favorite.
Kitty Cat.
Right. So we're old enough to remember Cott with the Philadelphia Phillies, latter part of his career. He was probably 38, 39. I think Cott pitched him 40, 41.
At least.
A Yankee broadcaster.
Yep.
But Jim Cott, to me, he's borderline.
It's compiler kind of thing. I mean, I get that.
So,
but
congratulations.
If Dick Allen doesn't get in, then Jim Cott doesn't get in.
So, congratulations to Cott, because, like I said, I'm a fan of him.
Yeah.
But I'm a little torn on this. If he deserves to be in the Hall.
But look, the lockout's still going on. But Gil Hodges, congratulations,
no doubt, absolutely.
Posthumously finally gets in.
I was thrilled with that.
But Dick Allen belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Richie Allen deserves to be there.
So let's move on. And our next segment is sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut. And Mike, all we can say is thank you for being a loyal supporter of the show.
Thank you, Mike.
And let's move on to the hockey because we like hockey and the Rangers are doing really well. But you know what? There's a couple of things, a couple of firings. Alain Vigneault gets fired from. Had to.
And I'm a big Alain fan. I was thrilled when he became the Rangers coach.
Yeah, I was
Gets
too.
us to the Stanley Cup final.
Yep.
He's come up short in his previous stops, but the Flyers are reeling, and Vigneault had to go.
And Vancouver fired their head coach. So Bruce Boudreau's taking over that team
Again.
Right. That means Alain Vigneault has a job for the rest of his life.
There's
if
no
Bruce
question.
Boudreau can take it,
Right. There's no question.
But
I
a
mean,
couple
Roger Nielsen used to be the perennial guy, right?
Yeah.
Before Roger Nielsen passed.
Yeah.
I mean, how many teams did Roger Nielsen coach? You
Yeah.
know? So there's always a guy like that.
and I could see Rick Taka getting the job in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
that makes sense.
That
right?
would make perfect sense.
Yeah. But as far as hockey goes, a couple of milestones. Panarin, Artemi Panarin got his 500th point.
Yep.
And we've talked about this guy. He is a great hockey player.
We like Artemi.
Started his career a little bit later because he played in the KHL when he first came up, but he's been around and he's got 500 points in less than 500 games, and that doesn't happen very often. You know?
And he's starting to heat up. We talked about he got off to a little bit of a slow start.
Yep.
But the Rangers, they just keep winning. They lost the other night, broke their streak. I think they had 7 in a row. Top of my head, I think we're like 19-5 now, something like that.
Yep.
And again, because Zibanejad is still struggling offensively.
You'll find
But
it.
I got to tell you, Chris Kreider, I've always expected more out of Kreider. And I think this year you're seeing Chris Kreider, what he can be.
Yep.
And he certainly is carrying the Rangers on their back. He's scoring goals.
Yep.
He's being a team leader. And I couldn't be happy with how Kreider's playing.
But here's another milestone. Marc-Andre Fleury got his 500th win.
Yep.
And you say, wait a minute, 500? There's got to be a dozen guys that have 500. No, there's only 2 other guys that have reached that.
Right.
Martin Brodeur and
Okay.
Patrick Waugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's impressive.
That's very
I
impressive.
mean, and nobody that's almost a Gretzky like record with Martin Brodeur. Nobody is going to break
No.
651 wins. No. That's
not at all.
but that's a big milestone in the NHL.
Yeah, I agree. Also, real quick on the Rangers, Adam Fox got his 100th point in 150 games.
And I talked
Or
about this
100
last year.
assists
I
or
mean, he
something
won the
like that.
Norris Trophy last year, and I said, yeah, he's good, but I didn't see him as this dominant defensive player in offense and both defense. I've been watching a lot of him. He's really, really
He's
good.
special.
He really is.
He is.
I mean,
I think he's going to win the Norris Trophy again.
but it's so much like when Leach came up, you knew the expectations for him were going to be extraordinary. And
Yeah,
he lived
Brian
up to
Leach
it.
matched those expectations.
He did.
Adam Fox is a little bit under the radar.
Yep.
But even his peers are acknowledging, throughout the NHL, this guy's a special talent.
Yes.
And the Rangers have locked him up. I think it was a month ago. Good deal. I think we got him now for 8 years, 7 years.
Yeah,
So
no, really impressive.
we got
player.
him, and Adam Fox is going to be a special player for the Rangers.
He will. And listen, let's move quickly on because we got a lot of ground to cover here. The NBA, I mean,
Do we have to?
we do, I guess. Kemba Walker gets benched, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Look, we mentioned the NBA, and our studio audience starts barking.
That's right. What a boy, Chance.
But anyway, so the Knicks are struggling, right? The New York Knicks, and this is the team about when they were 8-3 start the season. Everyone said, "Wow, the Knicks, they're finally there," and now everybody's bashing them because now they're under 500. But you know what? When you talk about the NBA, it's Steph Curry's year. It's his year, right? I mean,
There's no question.
lighten it up. He's going to break Ray Allen's 3-point record
Yeah.
any day now.
Yeah, there's no question. So, we talked about the Phoenix Suns. They're off to a blazing start. Golden State, the Ben Simmons draga or saga is still ongoing. This week, there's kind of been some rumors of Lillard, Damon Lillard to Philly.
That's not a fair.
I
trade.
don't know if that's going to happen.
That's not
But
a
again,
fair
I
trade.
said on our show like a month ago, Daryl Morey, the GM of the Philadelphia 76ers, he will wait as long as it takes until he gets fair value in return.
Yeah, but the longer they wait, the value goes
It
down.
doesn't matter.
I
Now,
mean,
Ben Simmons will be moved, and I think
he's not a Damon Lillard type player. That's
listen. If Lillard wants out of Portland, and listen, Portland, their management
yeah,
upstairs,
they're a mess right now.
they are a mess.
Yeah, big
So this, I can't put a percentage on it, but I wouldn't be surprised if this gets pulled off
yeah,
with a lot of maybe a third team involved, something like
I
that.
could see Lillard being moved, but not anywhere tied to Ben Simmons.
Well,
believe me.
I
It's
tell
not
you
gonna
what,
happen.
Damon Lillard to the New York Knicks, I'd be okay with that.
Yep. But listen, Wes, while we're on basketball, right? Purdue was named #1 team in the country for the first time ever, which surprised me.
Yeah.
I thought Gene Katie had some pretty good teams back then.
I'm sure he got the #2 plenty of times.
And then they go down and play Rutgers and lose on a buzzer beater by Ron Harper Jr.
That's right.
That was cool.
While our producer was a little nearby down at the Seton Hall game,
Yeah.
and Seton Hall beats Texas. And here in the New York area, we were talking about it the next day with the media. Boy, Seton Hall got lost in the shuffle of a huge victory.
Yeah.
But the Rutgers buzzer beater against the #1 team in the nation.
Yeah.
I mean,
But listen,
that trumps it
college
all.
basketball is so wide open this year. It's
Yeah.
great. I love it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
as soon as you become #1, you get knocked off, right? You got Gonzaga, Duke, Kansas, Tennessee. These guys, they all seem to, stumble along the way. So it's wide open.
Yeah.
That's going to make March Madness insane.
Yep.
Insane.
Yeah, there's no clear cut.
Yep.
Houston with Phi Slam and Jamma, or
Yep.
Duke with Bobby Hurley and Leitner, or
Yeah.
Kentucky teams,
There's not that team.
North
Yeah.
Carolina with the man child, J.R. Reed.
He's on the All Windex
He's
team.
on
He
the All-
cleans the glass.
He's a diaper dandy, baby.
Anyway, so college hoops, it's awesome. Just want to mention one thing.
But
as we-
also women's college hoops. It's big news this week. Paige Buchers, UConn,
Paige Beckers.
Beckers.
Yeah.
Um,
Out for 6 to 8 weeks.
big knee injury for UConn.
And Gino actually press conference saying, I don't know what's wrong with this team.
Yeah,
Like,
'cause
he's
they-
coming down on this team.
yeah, they just lost again.
It's
So,
the first time in since 2004, 2005 season that they've had 2 losses
Yeah.
this early in the season.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. But
Gino-
South Carolina and women's hoops is definitely
yep.
the #1 team, and look for them probably to
Yep.
to win it. Stanford won it last year, if I remember correctly.
But there's a couple of quick things before we move on to our random points of interest. Major League Soccer today is the NYC FC final, playing the Portland Timbers. And listen, I mean, we're not gigantic soccer fans, but this is big for the New York tri-state area. You got to give them credit. First time in the finals.
Okay, I give you credit.
All right. But while we're on
Am
soccer,
I going to watch this, folks? I'm not.
I don't think
And
we're
Diego, again, we have a loyal fan, Diego.
Yeah.
Diego, I'm looking you straight in the face. If it's not World Cup
Yeah.
and Messi and Ronaldo,
we'll be watching the Army Navy
we'll be
game.
going Army Navy today.
But soccer, Pele.
yeah,
And we've talked about him before. We knew he was having some medical issues for a while, but he's kind of in distress right now.
yeah, he's 81 years old,
Mhm.
and he just went in for like some tumor transplant surgery.
But that is the poster child for soccer
Mo-
for us. No
Most-
question.
there
right?
was no question whatsoever.
Yeah. So listen, let's move on and start to wrap up our show. We got some random points of interest. I want to say, listen, Bronny James had a big game. LeBron's son, high school basketball,
Ronnie,
taking over for his father's legacy. Actually beat his father's team, and in the big game
Yeah.
in college high school basketball.
that's cool.
Yep. But listen, we with a lot of bowl game seasons coming on, right? We saw this today. First of all, Thibodeau from Oregon, he's skipping the bowl games,
Makes sense.
and today Kyle Hamilton and Kieran Williams from Notre Dame doing the same.
It makes sense.
It does make sense. The first time it happened, I remember, was Christian McCaffrey, I think.
Could be, yeah. But that the trend is now where it is happening.
Yep.
And you have to be on board for this. I
Who's
mean,
a Giants fan of you two?
I'm a Cowboy fan.
Very good chance Kyle Hamilton will be a Giant next year.
We
Oh,
could use
I'd
him.
love it. I'd love it.
We could use him. Believe me, we could use him.
Oh, you got Xavier McKinney. I mean, the Giants. Julius Peppers. You got. Listen, he's a special player. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. There's a lot of other needs in New York Giant land.
If we don't draft an
Especially
offensive lineman, I'm going
at quarterback,
myself.
Being that Daniel Jones is not exactly, because we talked about it last week. You're on the Daniel Jones side.
I am.
I'm iffy. And now with this neck injury,
Yep.
Kenny Pickett, maybe. How about that?
Jersey
because-
kid from
because
Westfield.
the Giants are going to have two top 10, 11 picks,
I think the running back too.
Williams.
She's
Yeah.
a-
He's stuck.
but not in a number one up that early.
No, we're not going to make that mistake again.
You better believe it.
Yeah, very good.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I know.
That's right.
But listen, random points. One quick guy, Johnny Rogers, is having some medical concerns as well.
Yep.
And we remember that. We were very, very young, but we remember that highlight.
What-
And Nebraska, just what a great player, what a class act he's been.
Right.
Entire.
I did a monologue about 6 weeks ago about Oklahoma, Nebraska. Remember that?
I do.
And Johnny Rogers,
do.
Johnny Rogers was at that, because it was the reunion. I think it was 50 years or something.
Yeah.
And Johnny Rogers, for our younger audience and people that really don't know of him, definitely take a look at his highlights. Johnny Rogers was a special.
What was that?
college player.
1971. I think.
71, 72
Yep.
seasons.
And listen, before we move on to our final notable passings of, unfortunately, which there are many, we completely forgot. Not forgot. We just got so caught up, but it was Pearl Harbor Day this week, and it just means so much to Steve and I, the sacrifice of our service members,
Yep.
and they're passing away in record numbers now. But that was just an incredibly monumental day in the history of this country, and shame on me for not bringing it up last
Yeah.
week, but I
Well,
wanted to bring it up this
Right.
week.
So December 7th is the day. And it's history, guys. And obviously,
Yep.
well before, we started walking the planet, it's the biggest thing that ever happened to the United States as far as a, terrorist.
And it bore the greatest generation,
Right.
and there's no question about it. It was just
And then that's why 9/11 is just so for
Important,
us and everybody, just like mind blowing that those planes could hit the World Trade Center. So yes, Pearl Harbor is a special Remembrance Day for us. We're military history guys,
we are.
and we thank anybody that
You hear
serves.
the chat yesterday?
Yeah,
That was awesome.
it was.
That
What?
was
What are you talking
about
about?
3:00, 3:30 in the afternoon. I was taking my mom to the doctor, so I'm staying outside of my car,
Right.
kind of dozing off. All of a sudden, I heard this roar.
What, flyover somewhere?
Well, they were flying into Teterboro for the game today.
Right.
Oh,
So
excellent.
it
the
flew right
flyover.
over like the Teterboro path, which goes over like
Yeah.
the Malvern Cabin.
Right.
all
Over
that
like
way.
Paramus,
We're down like
Hackensack.
17 almost.
Right.
The
Awesome.
Parkway.
Yeah.
And it was just awesome to hear this.
The roar.
The
yeah.
roar.
The supersonic engine.
Yeah.
And they even said today about 3:00 when the kickoff is, just beware because they're gonna fly over again.
Yeah.
Then the whole area is gonna be like, ring out, shout.
Oh, yeah.
That's great.
Special stuff.
That's great.
Yep.
So let's move on, Steve, our notable passing segment. And again, we're going to bring this up because somebody brought up that, we don't want to go out on a down note, but this is a remembrance of these folks that passed away, and we look at it as a positive.
Correct.
And
We got to lead with
Senator Bob Dole.
Yeah, we just talked about Pearl Harbor, the greatest generation.
Yep.
And Bob Dole is
98 years old.
an integral part of the greatest generation. And Bob Dole, 98 is just incredible.
It is.
And to me and you and Bob Dole is an American hero.
Yep.
And well deserved to Lion State.
38 years in Congress.
Right. He's
and,
back to Kansas today. He's being buried today.
Yep.
And then, I did make a little Bob Dole reference joke that there's only one Bob Dole left now.
Dan
and
Aykroyd.
that's Dan Aykroyd
Yep.
because, we lost Norm the other. But Bob Dole,
And out of respect,
because I'm Bob Dole.
I do a great Bob Dole. I'm not going to do it 'cause out of his memory, but 98 years old.
No,
This is a true American.
absolutely
you know?
Bob Dole.
War hero and literally suffered his whole life.
Correct.
He lost use of his arm
Yep.
and
Yeah,
then went into public service and did nothing but good for this country.
you better believe it. Bob
Yep.
Dole, rest in peace.
Couple other things. How about this thing? Medina Spirit, the Kentucky Derby winner. Again, where was he? Santa Anita.
Oh
And
my God, the Santa Anita place.
shocking.
It's like Auschwitz for horses.
It's a
It
graveyard.
really is. It's like a Holocaust
Yeah, it is.
for horses.
Yep.
It's unbelievable. But am I surprised Medina Spirit at 3 years old?
Well, I think we're all surprised. I mean,
But are we?
I guess, but
We know he's been injected with stuff.
he wasn't injected. It was a cream. He had a rash. That's what.
Okay.
Betha made his own.
He did the Barry Bonds cream. Okay.
Right.
But listen, Medina Spirit,
Yep.
Kentucky Derby champion.
Yep.
But Bob Baffert has a lot of explanations to do because it doesn't really help his credibility when he denies
I get it.
any funny business.
We've covered this like
We
the
have,
dead,
But I was sad to hear,
Yep.
Medina Spirit was a champion.
But a couple other notable passings. Bill Glass and one of our loyal listeners, James Walsh, brought this to our attention.
Right.
And, he was on the 1964 Cleveland Browns championship team.
Right.
Went on and had a great career. Became a minister and just an advocate for public health and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Bill Glass,
Bill Glass, R.I.P.
86 years old. So we never got to see him play, but when somebody who we know saw him play and said this guy should be on the notable passings of Mano and Mano,
Yeah.
you got it.
He played with Bob Feller and,
Yep.
and Bob Lemon and those guys on the
Yep.
Indians.
And
Larry
sticking-
Doby.
And sticking with an NFL passing, Demarius Thomas, that was another big surprise.
2
right?
days ago. I mean,
33 years old and Super Bowl champ.
and listen, by all accounts, I don't think there's anybody that has said one bad word about Demarius Thomas.
Absolutely.
His character,
Yep.
he was a well-liked guy,
Yep.
and he was a really good football player.
Sure was.
And I was saddened to hear that at age 33.
Yep.
Demarius Thomas. It's
Had a great career, though.
that's a tough one, man.
Yep. And listen, from the world of sports in general, because we just, about a few months ago, we had to mention Bobby Unser. Al Unser
Oh, yeah.
passed away. Al Unser Sr.,
Alan Cecile.
4-time Indy champ, and just a legacy in auto racing.
No question.
No question.
You know,
about
when Bobby passed away, I mentioned on the show at the time that Bobby was my favorite driver back in the the 70s,
Yep.
that type of thing. But Al Unser, 4-time, man.
it. 82 years old.
Yeah, Al Unser had a great career.
Oh, my God.
And again, that's royalty when you're talking IndyCar racing.
Him and his son are the only father-son duo to win it, and him and his brother the only brothers to actually win Indy 500. So
That's good stuff.
that's a big thing.
Yep.
And from the world of entertainment, Mike Naismith from the
Yes.
Monkees.
Yesterday. Yes.
And then there was one.
Yeah, right.
Mickey Dolan,
Yeah.
sole survivor. But
Yes.
Mike Naismith, had a great career, in music and
He was.
behind the curtain kind of thing.
But,
And,
but he was a musician.
He
Like,
was.
the Monkees, were they all musicians? Not necessarily.
yeah,
But Mike Nesmith was.
definitely.
And of course, there's always the tidbit about Mike Nesmith. What is his mother famous for inventing?
I don't know.
Anybody?
I don't know.
Whiteout.
Is that right?
That is correct. So Mike Nesmith was not lacking for any type of money during his 78 years on the
yeah,
phone.
but he had a great career.
But
in
Mike
music,
Nesmith, this guy, producer.
Hey, with the Monkees. I mean, enough said, right?
Lionel Richie's Dancing on the Ceiling video. Mike Nesmith produced that.
Yep.
Yeah. So, again, when you think Mike Nesmith, you think the Monkees. We think the opening of the Monkees.
Yep.
We think, the surf coming in and out. They're walking away from it,
Yep.
back and forth. We watch the Monkees
Religiously.
Religiously.
Yep.
Exactly. I don't know how else to say it.
Yep.
R.I.P. Mike Nesmith.
You bet. So listen, folks, there's like I said, lots been going on, and this is our second week of our live broadcast, and we thank you and love to hear from you. Please send us an email at sportswithmanoandmano@gmail.com.
Right.
Again, you can find us on blackjacktv.net,
Right.
and we're going to be here week after week. There's a lot going on.
And
And
Blackjack Bobby's Facebook page and Stephen Monahan, STEPHEN,
yeah, and
MONAGHAN. You can find it. It'll be posting on my page. And we can't thank you enough. We're excited to be part of the Blackjack family and I-95 Sports.
Yep.
And I believe you mentioned Michael Strahan's agent's part of the family. I think today the day Michael Strahan goes
today
up in
is the
space.
day he's going to the moon.
He's going to the moon.
And his dad just passed away.
Is that right?
My friend,
Oh,
Wow.
Sorry
Wow.
to hear that.
Kind of odd how he goes to space in the same.
That's interesting. But,
Yeah.
you know, safe return trip.
Oh,
Mike.
absolutely.
But
So,
again, thanks for joining us, everybody. And Rob, thanks for producing the show.
thank
And,
you, Rob.
you know, we can't be more excited about it. And we'll see you guys next week. And Steve,
Yep.
good decorating for the show this week.
Oh, cut it out, Jay.
See you guys next week. Signing off. Thanks.
Bye.